Number 10. Faking a hate crime. Actor Jussie Smollett was in the hit show Empire. It seems he's a terrific actor on and off screen. He was found guilty of lying about a hate crime in Chicago back in 2019. 2 years after the hoax, when his life finally caught up to him, he was sentenced to 150 days in jail and forced to pay a fine of $145,000. He was found guilty on multiple counts, all having to do with lying to the police, lying about being the victim of a hate crime, and falsifying police reports. It all started on January 29th when Jussie Smollett told the police a pair of masked men approached him at 2 o'clock in the morning. They hurled racist and homophobic insults at him, punched his face, sprayed him with an unknown chemical substance, and tied a rope around his neck. The way he described it, the crime sounded absolutely heinous. The next day, Jussie was the center of attention. Dozens of the world's most famous celebrities sent him good wishes. His name was on every Twitter account, and his picture was on every news station. But then something strange happened. The police wanted to check his phone to help with their investigation of the attack. He refused to hand it over. A few days later, the Chicago police released photographs of 2 people they believed to be involved in the crime. The day after that, Jussie says in a rather bizarre statement that he's the gay Tupac. Things were getting weird. On February 14th, 2 people were arrested and interviewed by the police, but no charges were put against them. 6 days later, the police charged Jussie with disorderly conduct and filing a false police report. They learned Jussie had paid 2 men to stage the fake attack, while also sending himself a racist letter to Fox Studios. It was all part of an elaborate plan to gain sympathy from the Hollywood community to help boost his career. Number 9. Lying about a disappearance. Christmas of 2017 saw Timothy Upsgrove taken into custody after a search for his missing wife ended fruitlessly. After searching for days and days, the police finally located Laurie's corpse in a wooded area of Titusville. She had been manhandled to death by Timothy following an argument the two had. Let's back it up to the day it happened. The couple had gotten into a fight just before Christmas, which also happened to be their 1-year anniversary. Timothy initially told the police his wife drove away from the home they shared together and never came back. This is what led to the search, which went on for nearly a week. The whole time, Timothy kept lying about his wife. He said nothing happened. She had simply driven away in a huff and should have been back by now. But after a week, Timothy couldn't take the lying anymore. He knew he would be caught eventually. He told the police that it was him who killed her and that he had dumped her body in the woods. Then, with his help, police were able to find Laurie, ditched near the back of a storage facility in the forest. The Florida man was then charged with murder for the horrifying death of his 51-year-old wife, Laurie. Number 8. Faking special needs and tricking babysitters. A man named Rutledge Deus IV was already on probation for lying about having special needs in 2019 when he was arrested yet again in 2021. You see, Rutledge posed as his fictitious brother in order to trick babysitters into changing his diaper. Yes, you heard that right. This fully grown Louisiana man has been charged multiple times for pretending to be a person with special needs, specifically to con babysitters into handling him like a toddler. He just really enjoys it when women change his dirty diapers. According to the Louisiana State Police, Rutledge faced charges of human trafficking back in November of 2019 when he was caught the first time. He was given 5 years of probation and community service. The police started their second investigation in December 2 years later when it came to light that Rutledge was texting babysitters and trying to get them to solicit other babysitters to visit his home. He was trying the old word-of-mouth strategy. But he was also caught going online and recruiting professional home health workers to care for an 18-year-old brother named Corey, who didn't exist. When these health officials showed up, Rutledge would pretend to be his brother with mental disabilities. It was also that he could get himself off while his soiled diapers were being changed. It was the most bizarre lie to get caught in, and one of the weirdest cases in recent memory. What's even crazier is that Rutledge got away with it on at least 10 separate occasions. Last we heard, he's being held on a $25,000 bond and is facing more human trafficking charges, plus 5 counts of violating his probation. Number 7. A corpse at the post office. On January 21, 2022, a pair of men walked into a post office in Ireland's County Carlow with a fresh human corpse. They carried the dead person into the post office, supporting the dead weight between them in a desperate bid to claim the deceased man's pension. It started earlier in the day at 11:30 when one man asked if he could collect the pension from an older man, but he was refused, with the staff at the post office saying the pensioner had to be present for the money to be given over. The man then returned with the pensioner and another guy, but the employees at the post office were pretty aware that the older gentleman was dead. I mean, it was obvious they were holding him up. They weren't fooling anybody. Still, the men lied through their teeth in their attempt to get the deceased's pension. They were desperate for his money and hoped the staff might not notice the horrible stench coming off him. But they did. The alarm was raised, and the 2 liars ditched the dead guy on the floor of the post office and ran away. Number 6. The secret dominatrix. Ekaterina Plotnikova went missing in Russia in early 2021. Throughout the entire time she was missing, the police never really suspected any foul play had been involved. Or rather, they were too lazy to do any real investigating. It wasn't until her body was discovered buried in a forest in rural Siberia that her disappearance turned into a murder case. She was found underneath the dirt, buried under a heap of rubble and wrapped in bedsheets. Clearly, Ekaterina had been killed. But what truly shocked her mother, Larissa Plotnikova, is what the police uncovered during their investigation. Ekaterina had been working as a dominatrix in the Siberian city of Novosibirsk. She had gone under the alias Mistress Stella and had been living a secret life nobody in her family knew about. Police learned Ekaterina had gone on a trip with a client around the time of her disappearance and even managed to retrace her route. But because 5 months had already passed, they had lost a significant amount of time. Her mother is now accusing law enforcement in Russia of being inactive. The truth is that more could have been done if her daughter hadn't been lying about her profession. Ekaterina had convinced her mom she was working in a beauty parlor and providing electrolysis services. If her mom had known that she was a dominatrix, she probably could have pushed the police into doing their jobs a bit better. As it stands right now, the killer is still at large. Number 5. Death on the bridge. A Florida bridge tender has gotten into some major trouble for lying after she accidentally killed an old woman in February of 2022. The 79-year-old woman named Carol Wright had been trying to walk across the bridge when Artisua Lafay Polk lifted it without checking to see if anyone was in danger. Carol just so happened to be at a point where she couldn't go forward or back, and as the bridge rose, she lost her footing and fell off and died. Artisua has been deemed criminally responsible for her death. She's also gotten in trouble for scheming with her supervisor to cover it up. This happened at Royal Park Bridge in West Park Beach, Florida. An investigation by the local police revealed Artisua initially lied about the circumstances surrounding the victim's tragic and untimely demise. She had even deleted text messages between her and her supervisor, as well as surveillance video showing her being negligent of her duties. She pushed a button to raise that bridge without checking, and her lack of oversight took a way of life. Then, she had the audacity to lie about it. She's now facing 15 years in prison. Number 4. Crazy Katie. Katie Sorensen gained international fame in December of 2020 when she appeared to have thwarted a kidnapping plot in the middle of broad daylight. Katie, a Sonoma native, called herself a mom influencer. She posted a video on social media claiming a man and woman attempted to kidnap her 2 children. It supposedly happened in the parking lot of a Michael's craft store about 40 miles, 64 kilometers from San Francisco. Katie claimed the couple creeped up on her in the parking lot, leered at her and her children, and gave her the heebie-jeebies. The couple then followed her into the store, trailed her through the aisles, and pursued her all the way back to her vehicle. Katie claimed they were about to snatch her kids when she started screaming wildly for help. Luckily, the couple got scared and ran off. At first, it sounds like every parent's worst nightmare. This woman seemed like a target, like the potential victim of daylight kidnappers. But here's where things got really bad for Katie. The police tracked down the two individuals she claimed were trying to steal her kids. They were identified by the police as Sadie and Eddie Martinez. After the cops started investigating, it became clearly clear Katie wasn't telling the whole truth. Sadie and Eddie were at the craft store to buy Christmas decorations. They just got unlucky and parked near Katie, who didn't like the look of them. They believe the false allegations were racially motivated. The police believe it was a calculated and orchestrated event. In other words, Katie lied about the whole thing, knowing Sadie and Eddie had no intention of kidnapping her kids. It was an effort to stir drama in the community and create a greater division between the races. In the end, it majorly backfired. Katie is now facing jail time for lying about the kidnapping. Not to mention, she's become a social pariah. Number 3. The sibling scammers. A brother and sister criminal duo have gotten into some very hot water for defrauding investors out of around $124 million. The siblings, John Barksdale and Tina Barksdale, lied to investors for years over the value of their multi-level marketing company called Ormeus Global SA. The company was supposedly profitable mining cryptocurrency. They had 20,000 investors between January of 2017 and October of 2021. But here's the thing. Their company was worthless. They tricked everyone into believing it was making a fortune. Their investors poured those millions of dollars straight into their pockets. Then the siblings used the cash for luxury travel, to buy houses, and to just live generally awesome lives for 4 long years. As of right now, the siblings have been charged and are facing 65 years in prison for fraud and conspiracy. Number 2. Faking terminal cancer. A North Carolina woman lied about having terminal cancer so that she could collect funds for medical expenses she didn't need. Her name is Michelle Lynn Stultz, and she's facing 4 counts of obtaining property using false pretense. According to the Iredell Sheriff's Office, she went on a campaign to raise funds after claiming to have been diagnosed with cancer. The cancer was supposed to be terminal. She went to churches, she made a GoFundMe, and she reached out to people in her community. She ended up raising quite a bit of money, but she never got to spend it. In August of 2021, one of the victims of the scam, someone who had donated roughly $4,000, realized the diagnosis was falsified. The victim was so angry that they reported the crime to the police. The cops were able to dismantle the entire operation in no time. When they started looking into it, they realized Michelle already had a criminal history of forgery and misdemeanor larceny. She was already a known liar, so it was easy for them to shut down her fake cancer operation. They never did say exactly how much money she stole, but it doesn't matter. She's going to have a hard time spending it from the Iredell County Detention Center. Number 1. A bizarre catfish scheme. A woman in Houston was arrested in December of 2017 for pretending to be her ex-boyfriend online. It was part of a weird catfish scheme in which Lisa Marie Garcia wished to frame her ex for a crime. She impersonated Brandon Barrott on social media, sending threats from his fake profile to herself. She created a fake Facebook, a fake Instagram, and even managed to get fake phone numbers, all to send threats to herself in an attempt to frame Brandon. What's truly amazing is that her scheme worked. Lisa's lying actually got Brandon arrested 8 times and fired from his job. Every time Brandon was arrested for threatening her on the internet and then let out of jail, she kept on with the scheme. But in the end, Lisa milked the scam too hard and got caught. She was then arrested by the Houston police and is facing some serious charges of bribery and online harassment. Which do you think is worse, lying about having cancer or faking a hate crime? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to subscribe before you go. See you next time. Bye.